Welcome to Democracy 2.0, heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com. And welcome today. Today is it's time is going fast. It's March 2nd, 2023. Welcome, Wayne. This is my partner, Wayne Bouchard, who is the expert on everything, and I'm only here to be amazed by what he says. Welcome, Wayne.
Well, thank you, Malcolm. I'm sorry that you're not feeling well, and I hope that you have a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
And I probably don't understand half of what I say, and I'm not sure. Well, I believe what I say, but I don't understand. Sometimes I think I don't understand some of the things I say, so don't give me too much credit, okay?
Well, you definitely were meant to be a politician.
Definitely were meant to be a politician. Well, I'm sure that there are people on this planet that would agree with you, and many, many more that would disagree with you.
Anyway,
Yeah, go ahead.
What are your headlines of today?
Well, I think the headline that I have today is that it's kind of ironic that the Canadian government is looking to close their border with the United States because of illegal immigration going over the border. And there are illegal immigrants in the U.S. that are trying to get out of the U.S. Because of all the controversy here, and they're running up to Canada. And the Canadians are getting very upset about that. So I thought that's kind of a little tidbit of news that probably doesn't amount to a whole hell of a lot, but it's kind of ironic, maybe even humorous. So I thought I would just mention that, and was an interesting fact that I ran across.
Canada is closing its border to American citizens.
There's a couple of illegal border crossings that they are pinpointing. And I think they have to do with, people going through the woods and into Canada.
Yeah, but I could see them doing for, illegal aliens that we have that are trying to avoid, jail. But I don't know about Americans trying to get into Canada.
Well, I think an American would just get in his car and drive across a normal border crossing,
right,
his credentials, and get in. Somebody who's sneaking across an illegal border crossing through the woods is obviously not willing to go through the normal chain of command. So
right, but that normally would be closed, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I mean,
I'll give you an update on that next week.
Okay.
I think more importantly, we should spend a few minutes on the fact that the Secretary of State Blinken has met with his counterpart, the Russian Foreign Minister Lazarov, for the first time since the beginning of the Ukrainian war. They met over at the G20 summit, and I think the G20 summit is being held in India, if I'm not mistaken. And they had an opportunity to talk about things that are on each other's minds, and I think it was a positive sign that they at least talked.
And of course, sign for what?
Well, maybe some sort of negotiations. There was an interesting editorial, or not editorial, but an opinion piece in the New York Times alluding to the fact that the U.S. is in over its head because the primary objective in Ukraine is to capture, is to retake all their land, including Crimea, and that's a long haul. I mean, they've got, so far they've got one tank from the NATO countries, and they need a lot more than one tank. And this opinion piece laid out a scenario that to do what they want to do would require something tantamount to Desert Storm, and that would have to involve NATO or US troops. And as far as I can see, that's not going to happen. And it's a sad commentary what's going on over there. They're destroying a country.
Oh, definitely. Well, the thing that I get concerned about, whether there's a lot of talk about, complaints about us arming Ukraine, and whether we should or shouldn't, and not only by the Republicans, but by certain Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of like worrisome if the U.S. would not back Ukraine with their armaments. Well,
there's very little doubt in my mind. I don't know how you feel about this, but there's very little doubt in my mind that if the Soviets, I keep wanting to refer to them as Soviets. You know how old I am. If the Russians were to succeed in Ukraine, it's only a matter of time before they decide they're going someplace else. And I think Putin's grand plan is to restore the original Russian Empire, which is something along the lines of what the Soviet nations were like before. Sooner or later, NATO is going to have to step into the conflict because Russia will confront a NATO country. And, the NATO charter says if you attack one of us, you attack all of us. And that would, of course, lead to an even bigger war. And my personal feeling is that, if we don't stop them at the Ukraine, where are we going to stop them? We're going to stop them when they go into Poland, or this is going to be 1940, 1938, 1940 all over again. Anyway,
the problem is that whole philosophy, I agree with you, but the whole philosophy reminds me of like during the Korean War. If we don't stop the communists now, where will we stop them?
Yeah, I can see how we could think that. What I don't understand is, which brings up really an interesting point, is what does the Republican Party stand for? They used to be the fiscal conservatives, and they were willing to go to any lengths to defend democracy anywhere on the globe, and they were the ones that would have been the 1980 Republican Party would have been the first ones to be allocating money to Ukraine. And at this point in the battle, they probably would want to give them F-16 fighter planes. So, but those guys are all gone. It's a whole different political party. They have a whole different set of political philosophy today. It just blows me away.
But if we give the Ukrainians, all these armaments, isn't that better for the U.S. economy? Because
obviously it helps our economy in terms of the military industrial complex,
right?
But it also we're not sending troops to Ukraine.
Well, that's the important thing.
Yeah. I would have to think twice about voting in favor of sending, even military advisors
Right.
to Ukraine, although I'm sure they're there.
Yeah, well, that's
hiding. They're just hiding out. What do you think?
I mean, that's what happened originally with Vietnam. We had military advisors there.
Correct. Yes.
Another thing
John
that
Kennedy sent in military advisors. He didn't send in troops, but he sent in military advisors.
Well, that was the whole thing, that the Bay of Tonkin was supposed to be set up by JFK, not JFK, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, to expand the war.
Right. That was a whole pre-planned. How many times has that happened in history?
More times than we care to remember.
Correct. Yeah, it's just sad commentary. So shifting gears here, let's see.
Okay, my next question for you, I know.
Yes, go ahead. I'm trying to keep your voice to a minimum.
Who cares about Alex Murtaugh?
He is not in my notes to discuss today. What's the big deal?
I mean, I understand
on the front page every day.
I understand the human interest story, but to have so much news coverage on him on a 24/7 basis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Who the hell is this guy?
Well, we know who he is, but is it that much interest that he takes up so much of our news space when there's so much news that is not really being covered?
I couldn't agree with you more.
Mm-hmm.
No, couldn't agree with you more. I think it's a total waste of time. I don't want to hear any more about it. I don't, if the guy's guilty, put him in jail. If he's not guilty, set him free.
Yeah. Well, now the verdict is in the hands of the jury.
Oh, did they give the
I think they gave the summations.
They gave the summations, and the jury now has been sequestered and asked to come up with a verdict.
Right. Right. So it'll be a hung jury, and they'll have another trial.
Oh.
My next big
question. Have to put up with that. We'll have to put up with that some more.
Yep. It sells. My next question is, I know I asked you to do all of this research. Okay, you go. Forget about my next question.
No, I want to hear your question. I think that's going to be more fun.
No, I'm listening to all that thing about the January 6th, with Trump, and is he guilty of this? Is he guilty of that? And it seems like I've heard all of this so many times before, and there's so many. And if he's guilty of this, and everything is sort of like wordplay. They're saying the same thing different ways over and over and over again. And if he is guilty, and he is guilty of this, but now does this stand to, right now it's not criminal, it's civil. It's, can he be sued, or can he be held accountable for? And if he is, and they say, he is, but it's almost like the Kennedy, the Clinton thing. Well, what does "is" mean? I mean, they're parsing words.
Well, the Department of Justice today said that it would give its approval to for people to sue Donald Trump over the January 6th riots. That means all those people that were injured, means anybody who's got a beef about the riots has an opportunity to sue Donald Trump personally.
But then when they come to sue him, there's going to be something, well, he's not, that they're going to go back to, well, he was president of the United States and acted as so-and-so. And it's going to go back to the same circular reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
as I say, the more things change, the more things remain the same.
yeah, right. Right. So let's talk about Fox News.
Why?
Well, I think it's interesting that that they're they are in such a position that, and they are, it looks to me like, there's a reasonable doubt that they are liable for in this lawsuit that the voting machine company, I think it's Dominion, has.
Dominion, yeah.
I think it's like $1.6 billion, isn't it?
It's a huge amount that Dominion is suing because they're losing their shirts.
Dominion's losing
Yeah,
their shirts, and Fox News is still thriving.
yeah. But well, yeah, and I was surprised that the Murdoch came out with what he said. I guess there was no other way for him to go.
Well, I don't think he meant it to be public, but I think it's raised a few eyebrows within the political circles. And is Fox News a news station? Especially the part about how they leaked to Donald Trump, the contents of Biden commercials before they aired them, so
Yeah.
that Trump could be ready for them. That's not delivering the news. Now, if this was not cable and it was a network station, Fox would still be under the jurisdiction of the Federal Communications Commission, and their license probably could have been revoked for something like that. So,
well, maybe they should take all of these cable stations and streaming things and put them under the jurisdiction of the FCC. Of
somebody,
course,
someone should have jurisdiction over their licensing, and there be some method of retribution if they violated any kind of public trust or laws, and parts of our society that need to be protected.
well, aside from Murdoch saying that these newscasters outright lied,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the emails that they sent to each other.
Yes, and the text,
The
emails,
text with Carlson and
Hannity.
yeah, and these have been notorious liars for years.
Yeah, look who's calling the kettle black.
Yeah, well, that they don't understand, and you listen to the news, and it's sort of like a rehash of what I heard 2 years ago.
Well, I think I told you that over a period of 10 years, you could go back to, let's say we could go back to the year 2000, and we would find that some of the same issues that we're talking about today were in the forefront 20 years ago, 23 years ago.
Well, I think
So we really don't solve problems.
I think I mentioned this to you 6 months ago. I binged watch The West Wing.
Yes.
And that was done in 1999. And literally, they're talking about the same things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With immigrations, with politics, with right wing.
Except I don't think the right wing was as pronounced as it is now.
No, well, I'm not sure what the right wing is anymore. I'm amazed they have what CPAC is this week. And Donald
Yes.
Trump is out there.
He's their hero. He's their
And
hero. But did you hear what he said over the weekend? He came out in favor of not tampering with Medicare or Social Security. So he put DeSantis on the spot because DeSantis has been, kind of he has been jumping on that bandwagon that we should look into all these entitlements and put them up for revote every 5 years.
but are they entitlements? That's a big question.
Well, once they're passed into law, they're classified as entitlements, correct?
But that's sort of like if you're talking about Medicare or hospitalization, or are we talking about revising the Obamacare, the American?
I think if the Republicans had their way, they would repeal Obamacare
And
in its
replace it
entirety.
with
Private insurance.
like they put policy through, right? They've
Mhm.
well, what do you think about speaking about private insurance or Eli Lilly reducing the cost of drugs?
Well, my personal opinion is that the whole pharmaceutical industry needs to be, revamped, and we need to look into how they do business. I mean, they're an important factor in our health and well-being. And if you watch any commercial television, almost, I'm going to just throw out a number, 90% of the commercials are from drug companies or some new drug. And what they're encouraging people to do is to go into their doctors and ask them for this drug or that drug in order to correct this problem or that problem. So they're making patients into, amateur healthcare officials, and then, they're selling more and more product. Now, Eli Lilly knew that someone was going to investigate, what is the cost to produce X amount of, one shot of insulin compared to what the selling price is. And they didn't want that to become public. So, their greed, and they are greedy people, forced them to make a decision before they were forced into making that decision by the government at some hearing. It just wouldn't look right if they got one of their executives was in front of a congressional committee and they found out that their profit margins were 75 or 80% on insulin. And diabetes is a common health problem in this country today.
Yeah. Well, I think the drug company is saying, well, it's not how much it is to produce the individual drug now that it's developed. It's how much it costs to develop it in the first place.
How does the rest of the world work on this basis?
I have no idea.
I don't really know either.
But I think between in Europe and Canada, they've more or less figured out a system. And they figured out a
One thing,
system.
they're not allowed to advertise their product. They were never allowed to advertise, just like lawyers were never allowed to advertise. Now when you watch a commercial television network, if it isn't about pharmaceuticals, it's about Camp Lejeune's water or some
Right.
other.
If you Camp Lejeune from 1692 to
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, let's turn to a lighter note. Did you see the Tennessee governor today signed into bill that anti drag legislation?
No.
And someone has come up with a picture of the governor of Tennessee as dressed as a drag queen, and here he is signing legislation calling this prohibiting this type of behavior that he has already participated in, maybe as a younger man. But I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't heard that. But what's frightening in the courts is how much of the federal court is controlled by a right wing.
Yes. Well, that's been going on. That's been going on for years. They've been appointing these really conservative judges, and the progressives and the Democrats, or whatever you want to call them, have had their heads stuck in the sand, and they're talking about all this esoteric stuff. Meanwhile, the entire legal system of this country is almost entirely controlled by the conservatives today.
Yeah,
but they've been working on this for 30 years.
Yeah, it's frightening. I mean, the thing that I'm getting affected by, the student loans.
What happens? What happens if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the lawsuit, which is going to prevent Biden's executive order from taking effect?
And it seems like they will.
It seems like they will. And are these young people going to stand up and raise hell?
What kind of hell can they raise? Well, actually, I get affected by it because number one, I have a student loan, but student loan for my kids, a parent loan.
Yeah, so do we. So do we. And we have been deferring payments for a long time. and the interest rate goes. I heard a thing the other day about a loan shark. And the loan shark was charging 5% interest back, 75, 80 years ago, whatever the hell it was, which, was just horrible. 5% interest today is like, that's a bargain.
Well, I think I'm under the Pell Grant, so it's a federal loan, so I don't think it's really raised over 5-6%, which ain't bad.
Oh, okay. We've had some that have been turned over to another company that they charge outrageous interest rates.
Well, I remember even the credit card companies, but their interest rate used to be called usury.
Yes. Yes.
And now you can never get out of debt.
When I lived in Minnesota and was out in South Dakota, and I couldn't understand, I was at a job site, and I couldn't understand why Citibank of New York was building this huge data processing center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then someone explained to me that South Dakota had changed their usury laws, which allowed Citibank, to charge 25% interest instead of 5%.
That's a good reason to be out there.
And then they were followed by bank, or all the big banks went out to South Dakota, and then all the states did away with all their usury laws. So
and anyway, young man, it's we have about a minute left. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you must cover?
How about, did you get snowed on?
Yep.
The world is certainly coming to an end when it snows in Southern California.
Right. As a matter of fact, there was shots that the kids during recess, they saw the snow. They came running outside. I mean, snowflakes. I'm going big effing deal. I'm from New York,
Snowflakes, let it snow.
and it's snow. Anyway, do you have anything big planned for this week?
No,
Beginning of March?
no, nothing at all. We had our big doings last weekend. Megan had a birthday party slash slumber party with all of her old schoolmates. So
Oh,
we had 16 women here for a slumber party on Saturday night.
well, actually, it's my birthday next week.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm not saying what.
And I'll be polite, Malcolm, and I won't ask you how old you are. And with that,
I
we should end
whatever. Again, it's a new 50.
the new 50. Wait a minute. How do you figure that?
I'm celebrating anniversaries in my bar mitzvah.
Oh, okay.
Everything
Okay.
is increments of 13.
All right. Okay.
Anyway, kid, I will speak to you next week. Hopefully my voice will be better.
Have a great week and feel better and take care of yourself. And, God save the queen. Oh,
Right.
it's not a queen anymore. It's a king.
The king.
God save the
Speak
king.
to you later, kid. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.